Welcome to another episode of Candid Moments. Today, my guest has a strong background and solid tech industry experience. He is helping to build a world-class Canadian tech industry, but he is so much more than that. Please help me welcome to the microphone, Michael Dolinar. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Candice. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Thank you for sitting down with me. The last time that I saw you, we were at IRegained, and we got into a deep conversation that was cut very short.
Yes, it's a very busy place these days. We have a lot going on at IRegained.
That is so nice to see. I did an episode with Vinny and Eric a couple months ago, and it's so nice to see the cutting edge technology. And being a part of this is changing the world one finger at a time.
Oh, absolutely, Candice. That's a big reason why I joined the team at IRegained full time.
So what got you started?
At IRegained in particular?
Yeah.
Sure. I met the CEO of IRegained, Vinny Johnson, some years ago. He toured a facility where I was operating a business and got a lot of tech advice from myself and other tech experts. And we developed a strong relationship. I began working for IRegained part-time as a consultant. And as time went by, I was able to arrange a situation where it was beneficial to everybody for me to join the team full-time. And, it's really nice to apply my tech skills and my abilities to a project that genuinely helps people in a very real way. And I really look forward to getting this technology out into the world.
That's fantastic. What kind of, how was it? I met one of the new gentlemen in the office.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember his name because there are so many people who work there. I was there last week.
Yes.
And he was a software developer. He was a new software developer on the team.
Absolutely. A gentleman named Laurentian has recently joined us and he's doing very well.
Okay. So are you in charge of that department, software developers?
That's right, software developers, and I play a strong role leading the engineering department as well, and I do that in conjunction with one of my colleagues.
Okay, and it's so nice to see everybody work as a team because there is no I in team.
That's a fact, Candice.
Nope.
My background is computer science in particular, and so that's why I spend most of my time managing the software projects and working with the software team to find solutions to complicated problems. I spend some of my time with the engineering team because my work history has extended into that realm as well, but my educational background is not that of an engineer. So I work closely with another executive on the IRegained team who is a qualified professional engineer. And between the two of us, we certainly help the engineering team get over a couple of humps. But to be honest, we mostly take care of the bureaucratic bits so that the tech guys can really concentrate on their work.
Okay. So you're the other guys in the team are more hands-on when you guys are behind the scenes working on other problems to solve.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of planning goes into solving software and hardware problems. And from my experience as a software programmer when I was younger, I understand that it's really helpful when problems are extremely well described and solutions are well known and documented. That way, for the software programmers, as an example, they're able to take a look at the solutions that have been provided and implement those without being worried that maybe they're going in the wrong direction or solving a problem in a way that's going to cause problems someplace else in the project.
That's wonderful.
When it comes to leading a tech team, I kind of look at myself as a snowplow, getting everything out of the way for everybody else.
Okay. So you have, is it your background? You were mentioning NORCAT the last time we spoke and something along the lines of other businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was educated here in Sudbury at Laurentian University. That's where I studied computer science. I worked for our local science center, Science North. Really, really great place to work and great place in general. I worked in the banking industry. I worked in education a little bit. And I ended up with a government job. And I was looking around after about 5 years of working in that position. Realizing that many of my colleagues were approaching retirement, and one of them even retired during my time in that job. And it occurred to me that that's what sometimes people do in those jobs, is they stay from their late 20s, early 30s, all the way through to retirement, and that didn't work for me. So sometime around 2014, 2015, I launched my own business. It was a software development company, and we built apps for a novel technology that was invented in the US by a company called FLIR Systems. It's now Teledyne FLIR, I believe. And had great success making apps for this very specific technology. Did lots of work for American companies, did work in Europe and even in Asia. And as time went by, I partnered with a larger firm here in the Sudbury area. We launched a tech company that does both software and electronics. And that's when I developed my relationship with Vineet. And fairly recently, I've made the switch over to the Chief Technical Officer at IRegained.
Oh, wow. What was the app for?
Well, we made lots of apps, but the technology we were developing apps for was something called the FLIR One, which is still available. It's a very, very neat product. It's a thermal imager that connects to an iPhone. So a thermal imager is a camera that sees heat instead of light. So it's frequently used, for example, for home inspections to see if insulation is consistent throughout exterior walls. It can detect people really well, because people are a different temperature typically than the ambient area around them. And the advent of iPhone connected thermal imagers meant that now we could harness the connectivity and the processing power of a mobile phone and apply that to the thermal images. And that's something that we weren't really able to do before. Prior to that, thermal imagers were big pieces of equipment that plugged into computers with a bunch of cables. It was never as neat and compact and portable as it became when FLIR invented the FLIR One.
Oh, wow. And it was successful.
Yeah, we had great success making software for the product. So we made some apps that we sold directly through my company, and we made apps for third parties as well. The third party apps is where we spent most of our attention. I had a small team at that first company, AdvanceWorks, and that small team, when we had some downtime, would develop our own apps.
So when you say your company, you're not talking about IRegained.
No, this is a company that I started, what would that be, 7 years ago, give or take. And that was the software company I initially started. It was called AdvanceWorks. AdvanceWorks.ca is the URL if you're interested in checking out some of the past projects we had done. And when we partnered with the CEO of Ionic Engineering, we launched a new company called Synaptic. And so that picked up where AdvanceWorks left off.
Is that why currently IRegained is moving from the Synaptic Technologies building? Does that have
Yes, that's
okay.
absolutely it. Yeah, so Synaptic had more space than it needed at its existing address, and we invited some of the IRegained engineers to work from our location. And as time went on, the IRegained team has outgrown even the space we can offer them at Synaptic. And so I'll be moving with the team to our new offices at NORCAT.
That's fantastic.
And since my first company, AdvanceWorks, started at NORCAT, it's almost like coming home for me.
I love it. And you guys are, is it the last week of May? You're in the process of moving to NORCAT, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, Candace. We've ordered our furniture. We're buying more furniture as right up until today. And tomorrow is our Boxing Day at the current office, where we're going to pack everything up and we'll start moving Friday. So it's a big move for us. We've visited the renovated office. We're really excited to move in. It's a beautiful place. And NORCAT has all of the amenities that a growing company like IRegained needs.
That's amazing. I have an appointment there tomorrow, so I will see you guys. And then the following appointments, will be at NORCAT on Maley Drive, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So double check with your clinician to see when that switch is going to happen for the appointments. But yes, I believe after the first, the appointments will be on the Maley Drive, look at the Maley Drive location at NORCAT.
Okay, which is past the roundabout on the.
Mhm.
What was the company called? Advanced.
The first company that I launched was called AdvanceWorks, and that's with an X because you can't spell anything right these days, or you don't get the domains, right?
Right, Advanced Works. Okay.
And that partnered with Ionic to create Synaptic Technologies.
What do you guys do at Synaptic Technologies?
Well, at Synaptic, we continued doing software work, continued some of the projects that were launched by AdvanceWorks, but we also launched into the hardware business. Now, I had done a little bit of electronics engineering at AdvanceWorks, but it was one of the focuses at Synaptic. So the goal was to have a company that could build software and hardware solutions, specifically for industrial solutions. One of the first technologies we pursued was an IoT technology developed in Germany called MIOTY, M-I-O-T-Y. Very, very neat technology, highly scalable, and it was designed for large numbers of compact wireless sensors. And so it could handle tens of thousands of sensors on a single network. Had a very long range, so battery-powered sensors could send data 15 kilometers, even more in some cases. And we were the world's first commercial manufacturer of MIOTY sensors. They were included in all the MIOTY starter kits. And we pursued electronics development for some time at Synaptic. We've got a few industrial products on the market that have very niche applications, but very important applications.
What does that have to do? This technology, what does it have to do with synapses?
We envisioned the technology of having a very large number of Internet of Things nodes, IoT sensors, that provide small amounts of data to each other and form a network. We envisioned that as being similar to synapses, and that's where the name Synaptic Technologies arose. And it happens to be a nice coincidence that we were working with IRegained through Synaptic, and that I am now full-time.
Which is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So these industrial technologies, what does it provide for the community? Everybody wants to know.
Well, one of the things that we envision is going to transform the world in the next industrial revolution, if you will, is the ability to collect minute amounts of data from all sorts of different factors. It's, if you can imagine, if we can pick up all sorts of measure and communicate all sorts of data from industrial systems, from pipelines, the pressure inside the pipe, the thickness of the pipes, the fluids flowing through it, and we can pick this up at many different points, we can start to identify problems before they occur. And so, we're pretty lucky here in Canada that we very, very rarely do we ever lose heat or lose electricity or anything like that. But it's technologies like these that will help us detect problems before they impact anybody at all. And it'll let us address things and repair things before any problems ever occur to the general public.
Okay. Is it exclusively for the mining community?
No, it's not exclusively for the mining community. Most of the work that we do at Synaptic is intended for the industrial community because that's where our experience lies. And so an example of a neat product that was built in conjunction with the local leak prevention company is something called the Leak Prevention Unit. And it monitors a patented exclusive pipe technology that can detect when the pipe starts wearing out and alert the operators before the pipe starts leaking. Very, very cool stuff. It's all done through wireless battery-powered sensors and patented technology. And so this is a really neat example of how IoT can make the world a better place for everyone by preventing the kinds of leaks that create environmental catastrophes.
Is it a gauge or a sensor?
Is it a gauge? It's an electronic sensor.
Okay.
It isn't intended to provide information just by looking at it. Although in the end we did put some indicators on it. So very simple ones. You know, red is bad and green is good. But they provide their precise data readings wirelessly to a main receiver that's located elsewhere. And that information is then drawn on a dashboard that's viewable by the operator through a website. And it can also be configured to send alert emails when it's suitable to do so.
When you say in a pipeline, are you referring to like the oil industry and those massive pipelines that are built by some of the companies in the city?
Well, it can be challenging to determine exactly which companies are able to deploy this technology. The beauty of the partnership is that I was able to design the electronics and create the software systems that make leak prevention function without having an in-depth knowledge of exactly which industries use the particular types of pipes which are suitable for this. So the partnership with the leak prevention company allows them to be the experts on the piping industry, while Synaptic are the experts on the software and electronics components of the system. And it works out very well that way.
So you're the software expert.
Software and electronics, yeah, the company is, and I play a large role in that.
Okay. Tell me more. Tell me, like, this is already something that's patent and in its is it in its beginning stages?
Yeah, the technology to determine when the pipes are wearing out is already patented by the leak prevention company. I believe their URL is leakpreventionltd.com.
Wait,
So
spell it.
Leak prevention, just as it sounds. Leak prevention limited.
Elite or just lead?
Leak prevention, Leak prevention.
.com, .ca.
I believe that's .com.
But this is a Canadian company.
Oh, it's Sudbury based.
I love that. More people need to know about it. I love supporting local.
As do I.
You must be so proud of this. What a huge undertaking.
Well, when I became an entrepreneur, certainly like many entrepreneurs, my goal was to make sure that my family was safe and well funded, that my salary had been replaced. And when I reached that point, yeah, it felt very good. But then you start to realize how little you've accomplished compared to what others have accomplished. And then you start to look at projects like the IRegained My Hand device and realize, you know what, there's something that can really make a difference.
Yes. Why do we do that? Compare to the next best thing? Well, because we only see growth.
Yeah, well, we always see growth, and as we grow, our eyes open to what's possible, to the possibilities, right? And you start to pursue those. Some things simply weren't visible to me when I started in business, started as an entrepreneur, that today are visible to me.
Right, and now the bottom line is impact. You're creating impact with this new technology that you've created.
Yeah. I mean, I hesitate to say I created any of it. It's often the people around me who do it, but I play a role.
Which is amazing. And Vineet says that too. He says he has nothing to do with it. He says everybody knows their role and they work together. And he often doesn't need to oversee or tell them what to do, because he says he's not the boss over there. They call him by his first name and he's one of the fellow team members.
Absolutely. We do have a very flat structure at IRegained. Everyone is able to and encouraged to participate in fields that are outside of their area of expertise, and it helps individual growth across teams. And often teams that aren't accustomed to the kinds of problems that we're used to solving within one particular group will have very creative advice that can be extremely helpful.
Which is massively important. When you say outside of their expertise, we have to be clear with that, because the clinicians that I see, they are working towards their kinesiology degree. And they are the ones conducting the session with the IRegained hand device.
Yes.
And that is their area of expertise.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is their area of expertise, and because of the close relationship between the clinical team and the engineering team and the software team, what we see are clinicians learning things they never thought they would learn about software, and engineers learning things they never thought they would learn about the human body, and et cetera. And so this kind of thing can lead to some creative solutions where, a software programmer, someone like me who's been doing that for a long time, might have tunnel vision when it comes to a particular problem, but we might get a very creative solution out of a different team because they're only looking at the problem and the nature of the problem for the first time.
From one particular point of view.
Yeah. So all of us in the software team will have been trained in a certain way. And so we might approach problems in a similar manner. But when we're explaining this to a clinician who needs to understand why something's been done the way it is, that clinician may have a very good solution, a different perspective on the problem and even the technical nature of the problem, leading us to a new solution that would have been very difficult for us to come up with on our own.
Right. Are you an analytical thinker?
I would like to think so. I think that's there's times when perhaps I don't use analytical thinking as much as I should, but generally speaking, yes, I think everything through.
Interesting. That's what I figured. What inspired you to work in the tech industry?
Oh, we're going all the way back to a very young age now, are we?
Well, I guess so.
When I was a very young boy, my father brought home a computer while most of my friends were getting video game systems. And of course, it could play video games like the video game systems could. But I found it fascinating that because this was a home computer, it could be programmed to do things. And my father would show me little bits. And it wasn't long before I had extremely basic, but the ability to type in very simple programs, and it amazed me at the time. And as the years went by and technology improved, I think somewhere around high school, a friend of mine had a problem viewing the fine print on the periodic table without his glasses. And I was looking at the periodic table, on an 8.5 by 11 sheet like we all got in high school, and I thought it's silly that with the technology we have today, that we've got all of this writing on this tiny sheet. And we had written a computer program that showed a periodic table and allowed the user to click on an element and get a full page view of that element. Then we expanded that. We created, but to be honest, we didn't like chemistry class. And so we had created software solutions to solve some of the problems for homework, where we could mix two elements together and draw a 3D picture of what the resulting molecule would look like. And one of the teachers caught us with it and said, "That is a science fair project. You just didn't know it." And we went to the Canada-wide science fair that year. And I think what clicked for me, just sort of at the tail end of high school, was realizing, oh, the software thing is something that I'm really good at. I can accomplish things as a student that look fairly professional. And so I pursued an education in computer science at university, and eventually was employed as a computer programmer, at first for a bank.
Wow. It's when you say the science fair, I'm familiar with Skills Canada because I dated a software developer in college.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it from my point of view. Did you take part in those competitions?
No, never took part in the Skills Canada competition. Just the science fair that would have been at Almaguin Highlands High School prior to university, of course.
Almaguin, where is that? I've spoken there.
It's south of North Bay. So I grew up in the town of Callander, and I attended high school even south of Callander at Almaguin Highlands Secondary.
Okay, where was that? That was, oh, that was years and years ago. I think that might have been
Between Sundridge and South River. It used to be on the side of Highway 11, but since then the
South.
school has moved and the highway has moved. So
Is it part of South River?
it was in between two towns, and I couldn't tell you which jurisdiction it fell within.
Almaguin. I have that written somewhere in my speaking journal. There are hundreds. My speaking journal is up there somewhere. I spoke there with the MTO, I believe. It was
Well,
wow.
good for you.
Yeah, that wow. Small
I
world.
I had the honor of being invited back to speak to the students one time, and I took the opportunity to make fun of the teachers, and the students got a real kick out of it, but I never got invited back.
Oh no. Not everyone can take a joke. Do you have any science, or like, do you have some sort of like funny joke you can share with me about science or engineering or computers?
Oh, you know what? It's one of these things where, especially since we're broadcasting online, I fear that any joke I might think I'm coming up with, I may have just read online at some point, and it seems silly to broadcast it.
If it was written by someone else, you mean?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's always that possibility where you think you came up with this joke, but the truth is, 10 years ago you read it online, and so
But that's okay. You don't have any good jokes for me?
oh, none that I'm certain would be original.
Okay, well, that's fair. It doesn't, I didn't ask for an original joke, Mike. When you're working full-time for IRegained, is there still time to work at Synaptic Technologies?
I make a little bit of time when I have to. Occasionally a meeting is required during regular business hours. But right now, Synaptic is operating on its own, supplying the existing products to industry, and it doesn't require much of my attention during regular business hours.
Okay, so you've had to delegate, and the team knows their role.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. Don't you love being the boss?
Well, one of the really nice things about the partnership with Ionic is that Ionic is, relative to anything that I've ever built, it's a very large company. I think in business terms, it would be considered a medium-sized enterprise. And so there's lots of skill sets that can be called on within that organization to assist.
And they're helping people around the world, just or in Canada.
Oh yeah, so Ionic is based here in Sudbury. It's the Ionic Tech Group is a group of companies. BlackRock Engineering is based right here in Sudbury. Ionic Mechatronics is based just out of Sudbury and Lively. And there's an engineering office called Ionic Automation in Cambridge, Ontario. Sales offices in China, in Chile, and I believe one was just opened in the US as well. But all of the engineering work is done right here in Ontario, a lot of it in Northern Ontario. And Ionic are experts at building robotic solutions to industrial problems. It's a real pleasure to spend time in their office and see the innovative solutions they're coming up with to all sorts of problems. And it's always fun to watch the robotic arms being programmed and whatnot for assembly lines.
Wow. And this technology keeps advancing, and once we feel we've caught up, we're behind because it's advancing every single day.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact. That's certainly a fact in my career as a software leader. The technology is changing, month to month for sure.
And it's hard to get a grasp or a handle on it. I feel like I'm so behind.
Well, I think the key is to concentrate on the bits of technology that are important to your life, the things that make a difference for you.
Yes, and that's what I do. I also know what it feels like to be the boss, and it is a good feeling, before COVID, I had employees, and that business had to fold as a result of COVID. So
Sorry to hear
now,
that.
pardon?
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's okay. I was starting to build momentum. It was a live speaking event monthly in Sudbury, and it was a franchise. I had purchased the 13th one in the country, and we had 6 live shows, and I was planning my March show, and there was people, I had guest speakers coming from Southern Ontario emailing me saying, did you watch the news? And I said, I'm Candace Kirkbride. Do you know that I don't watch the news? But well, did you hear what's coming? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, the show must go on. And I didn't realize how serious it was. So I said, okay, we have to cancel the show. And you know that being a business owner, taking a week off sounds a little absurd, because who's going to take care of everything? I can't afford to take a week off. Yep. So I was thinking, and then, okay, so 2 years later, but I started a podcast. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I don't have any staff to worry about. All the team knows their role, and it's me, myself, and I, and me, myself, and I, because she runs the business. She's just a spectator, not really, but we make it work.
Good. That's very creative. Yeah, no, it's been very tough for a lot of businesses throughout COVID, and real shame that that's happened to some of them. I'm really happy that you've picked yourself up with a podcast and you're taking off that way.
Yeah, I'm highlighting local people doing extraordinary things in our community. I couldn't think of a better way. I'm having lots of fun connecting with people who I would have otherwise not been able to connect with.
Absolutely. How did you connect with IRegained, with Vineet?
By accident. I was scrolling on LinkedIn. I do a lot of social media posts for my podcast. And I read this article about IRegained. Somebody had posted it, and I commented, how do I get in touch with these people? This is brilliant. So then they connected me with Vineet. I can't even remember who it was. And I called Vineet. I went into the office. He gave me a tour. I said, I want you on my show. And he was so gracious with me, and we booked it. And now I'm like a clinical patient, or you can call me a guinea pig. And when I was there last week, and I told the girls, I was chatting away because that's all I do. And the girl said, okay, you need to focus. And I said, oh, I know, because like it's almost 3 o'clock, and I know you have life. What did I call it? I said, I know you have to get back to work because you're changing the world and you're doing all these great things. And they kindly reminded me that I was part of the history being made, which was so nice, because I get to be one of these people in the trial stages of IRegained, which is still so mind-blowing for me, because one day I'll be able to say, remember when IRegained started and they were on my show and I used their device and there was games I was able to play, and I was actually really good at them. And so, but then last week I told Eric and Sophie, you need to challenge me. Because I'm a little more higher functioning as a stroke survivor than some people. So I told them they needed to challenge me, and they did. And all of a sudden things got hard, and I was like, okay, well, I'm glad you took me seriously, because then that I was able to push myself, and it's quite the experience to be part of history being made right now.
And in the technical teams, we're pushing ourselves all the time to make sure this machine has a wide enough variety of challenges for all sorts of stroke survivors, and to be able to help as many as possible. And that's been one of the really technically challenging things, is to be able to provide, very, very, very sensitive, very light resistance for certain stroke survivors, but be able to expand this up in the same machine to very, very high numbers, large amounts of motion, large amounts of resistance to pull against. It's been tricky.
And it's interesting when I'll say me, like the client, like the patient uses the machine, and then the machine is saving all of the data. And then you give it a second and it makes like this funny sound.
Mhm.
And I know now that the machine is calibrating to the strength and can you use the word spasticity of my hand? Is that the correct word?
So again, being a tech person, that question would be better suited to Vineet. One of the terms that we use a lot in the software and engineering departments is range of motion. You know, how far can someone move?
That's okay. Yeah, you're right. And so then it will calibrate to my hand,
Mhm.
and then it will use to my range of motion, and then it will well, you say it. Finish my thought.
Well, it probably changes it's changing the resistance against
Thank
which you
you.
can pull, right?
Right.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting. Oh, were you the last time I saw you, did I
Mhm.
not tell you or Eric that the team needed to I said you guys want feedback from me, right? So I think I had made a smart ass remark about being the thumb cup.
Yeah.
Every time, like I have long nails, so each cup for the fingers, there's a hole at the bottom so that if someone does have long nails, the nail goes through the cup. But when I was using the machine and I would,
Mhm.
my listeners need to see the actual devices. It's brilliant. But every time I'd use them with a thumb, it would come right out of the cup. Like the cup would come off of the device. So it was just, but it was, the team knows that they were working on that. It was just kind of like a little
Yep.
hardware glitch, I guess, if you will.
Well, one of the neat things that we identified early on is that people have different needs when it comes to the cups that their fingers hold when using the machine.
Right.
And so we've designed the machine to make sure that the entire mechanism, including the cup, the hinge that holds it, the direction in which it can flex, that's all removable from the machine. And so as we're coming across new patients that have different needs in terms of how their hand's going to interact with this machine in a very, very direct fashion, we can actually design new cups. And at the moment, we're able to 3D print these cups very rapidly. Certainly, you know, in a work day, we can have a new cup design ready for testing, and then coat them for use. But ultimately, we'll be designing tooling for all of these cups and manufacturing them in volumes so that patients, when they're coming to a clinic to use the MyHand, they'll be able to bring their own set of cups, the one that was designed to work best for them.
Oh, interesting. Well, you guys have just thought of everything, haven't you?
Well, I'm not sure if we've thought of everything, but we've been at this for a couple of years, and certainly we've learned a few lessons and designed a few innovations along the way.
Wow. I only see it going up from here.
We all do. we all do. And what really does it for me is meeting the patients as they come and go for testing sessions and seeing the vast improvements in their ability to move their hand when after their strokes, in some cases, they had almost no ability to control their hand anymore. And I think it was probably a few months into the project when I met a patient who had been arriving for treatments regularly, and he was just so excited that he was able to open a bottle of water, and that just that really struck me because I couldn't imagine being unable to. I had never thought about what a big deal that is, and so to meet this man who, after 6 or 8 weeks of weekly treatments, is able to do things he wasn't able to do before. He was able to get part of his life back. That's when it really clicked for me. This is a real thing that's going to help a lot of people, right?
I think you just answered my next question. So is that your why for this project?
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. You know, there's so many things that I could do, so many products that I could work on, and a lot of them might seem sleeker, but this one makes such a big difference to so many people.
Wow, you're part of a team that's changing the world, and I'm pretty sure you you do see it and you know it in your heart. And I know
Well,
there's
thank you. Yeah, I'm very, very confident that the IRegained team is indeed changing the world. In fact, I've already seen it. They've done this for a small number of people, and they're going to go on and do this for a large number of people. Absolutely.
so there's a huge team doing this. But when we think of Michael
Mhm.
and your life and your purpose and your drive and your strength and what you give back to the community, not everybody is comfortable. And you can tell me you're not comfortable with my question. I'm cool with it. What do you think? Like, what's your legacy that you're building?
Oh, Candace, it's not a situation where I need to be remembered for something. It's that I want to know that I put my time into something that was useful at some point in my life. And it's not a matter of having my name on something. I've never put my name on in any of my business names, for example. That's not what's important to me. But what's important is to look back and say, where we are today, I played a part in that, at least with respect to the technologies that I've worked with. And as a result, you want to make sure you're working with technologies that are going to be a net benefit. And I don't think there's any way to look at IRegained and say it isn't going to be a great thing for a lot of people. And that's why I work at IRegained. That's why I dedicate so much of my time and energy to it.
So it is part of your legacy.
Yes. But like I said, it doesn't have to have my name on it, but it's like you said, it's a team effort. And it's about watching people improve their lives through technology that I'm helping to create. It's amazing.
That is amazing. There's so many great people in this community and in so many small, like we're not that small of a community. Like for 165,000 people, there's a lot of people making a difference. If you really think about it, and all the small communities all over Ontario, it's collectively, we are changing our world.
Absolutely. And the bigger impact we can have, the better, because I think a lot of people here in Sudbury and in Northern Ontario, want the best for everybody.
Absolutely. Impact. Do you use that word a lot in your work?
When I think of the word impact, I think of people discussing social media posts, and I don't engage with that part of the marketing as much as maybe I should.
Okay.
Really, in my work, in my day-to-day activities, it's more about finding practical solutions to problems. And so oftentimes when we run into a problem, whether it's an electronics problem, a software problem, a mechanical problem, we'll end up with a large number of potential solutions. And for me, it's not a matter of which one has the biggest impact. It's a matter of which one's most practical, which will be the most reliable in the long term, which will fulfill the need to help people, right? And so oftentimes I'll spend my effort evaluating solutions and picking the one that I think is best and making a case for it. And sometimes I'm wrong and the engineers set me straight.
And it's good to own that. I've learned that, and I continue to learn that over and over.
I guess I don't look at things and consider whether or not they'll have an impact. I try to do the right things, and when I do, the impact just happens. Does that make sense?
Ooh, yes, thank you. I like that. I know that I can take notes after, but I may not process it well.
You know what works for you, Candace, by all means.
So sometimes I begin an episode with gratitude, and if I forget and I just want to jump right into the content, then I'll end with gratitude. Because that's my thing. That's like grateful is tattooed all over my life, and I'm proud of it. Can you tell me 3 things today that you are grateful for?
Sure. My family, my healthy son, my wonderful wife, who's supported me in my adventures to leave a government job and become an entrepreneur. The friends and business community I've developed here in Sudbury are just unbelievable. We've mentioned NORCAT many times, but that organization, the things they do to help entrepreneurs and small business are fantastic. I had no idea when I was entering the world of the business world that so many resources would be made available to me through organizations like NORCAT and the friends and people that I've met. And I guess the third thing would be in a similar vein. It's the confidence that local Sudbury businesses have in entrepreneurship and innovation. I hadn't imagined in 2015 or whenever it was I really got started in business that I would meet larger companies that would be interested in partnering with me and building bigger things. It's fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
It's interesting to listen to the gratitude that everybody has, because it's so individual and it's so unique. For me, my gratitude it shifts, but it stems from the same kind of values. I value my family, my vision, the strength in my body and my big, beautiful brain. I had I'm gonna go through a very big transition in my life,
Mhm.
probably this year, and one of my friends inspired it yesterday. But I've been making this decision since Friday. So on the 20th, I was this, and no, I'm like, it's, I don't know, you guys, everybody will find out what and it's to prove to myself that I can find solutions, and it's a practical solution for me, but it's a big lofty dream. But I always go off topic.
Are we going to have to tune in to find out?
Pardon?
Are we going to have to tune in to find out?
Yeah, absolutely. What you want the audience wanting more. Hello.
Absolutely.
There's opportunity that I should have seen maybe 10 years ago, but that's okay. There's a reason why I'm meeting the people that I'm meeting right now, and the experiences that I'm going through and having are just showing me so much, and learning and growing in business. And I live on the lake. The little ducklings are going to be born probably next week or the week after. I'm excited for that. It's summer. It's summer. It's basically summer. It was like 30 degrees the other day. And I'm grateful for this interview and meeting such rock star people in our community.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Candace. I'm glad that you're excited for the future. I'll certainly tune in. I can't wait to hear your news.
Oh, thank you. Oh, it's yeah, I'm not gonna say anything about it. Are you gonna be in the office tomorrow?
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly if I'll be in the Notre Dame office or the new Maley office getting things set up, but I will be around. I understand that you'll be stopping by.
Yeah, I'll be there at 1 to meet the clinicians.
All right. Well, if it's possible, I'll arrange to be there at 1 as well.
Okay, what do you take in your coffee?
Just cream in my coffee.
1 cream?
Sure, that works.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow at 1.
All right. Thanks so much.
Okay, Mike Dolinar, everybody. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Candace.